Welcome back. We are discussing the dangers of private armed forces with a political agenda. Arshad Khan, there is no dearth of private armies, private security forces in this country, services, private security services. So what's wrong with what Baba Ramdev is saying now?
You know, private security forces have a reason to be existence. For example, let's take a real estate company hiring people, for example. The reason for that is that there is infringement, there is occupation and encroachment of property that they have. So all of this security is raised in order to avoid those contingencies. But in case of Baba Ramdev, it has a political definition, it has a connotation to it. He is saying, I want to raise these people such that if ever on Ram Leela I am swooped again, we will give a befitting reply.
But he is only making a statement. Now let us look at one of the real estate companies. They have a force which is 7,000 strong, right? Obviously this is to protect their own interests. Now this force is made up of retired NSG personnel, retired army personnel. Even this force could go berserk. What is the guarantee against that?
No, the difference
well, I think you see, in the difference is chalk and cheese. In that case, the chairman of the company has orders passed on to the security forces that their job is only to protect the property, and should anybody try to trespass on it, they will take recourse with law. But in case of Baba Ramdev, he wants to sort of roll up his sleeves and want to take the fight to the streets. That is exactly what he's been saying. What is self-defense? Self-defense against who? Self-defense against the forces of the government?
Yes,
that is treason.
That is
treason.
that point. It is also unconstitutional because the constitution says you can collect peaceably and without arms.
He only said that he is going to train them. When
you train them for arming them, then you are not training them for nothing. If you are training them to fire a firearm, then of course they will do that.
When we are talking of Shastra, and Shastra which is talked about, Shastra is unarmed combat. Unarmed combat means,
no.
Please let me explain. Unarmed combat means if we go to Shrut where it started, Ayurveda started from, please that's why we are saying we have to understand in the relationship in which we are said.
Weapon
he has said there are 64 vital points in the body. If with my hands and fingers I was hold, if a person was trying to kill me, I could stop him.
Then when he says weapons, Shastra, he is actually referring to his own hands?
Unarmed, yes, of course. That's what I'm saying. Out of 107 vital points in the body, 64 points are vital. If I give a fist on that vital point to stop a person, he will not come near me. That's what happens in Taekwondo, what happens in Judo, what happens there. This is all...
I'll just come back to you. Yes, Mr. Lal.
You see, the difference lies in the objective for which the force is to be raised. Baba Ramdev wants to raise the force to challenge the police.
No, this is not true.
This is what he has said. He himself that he will defend. He will defend against all this. And when a company employs security guard, it is in order to exercise the right of defense of property. If somebody trespasses that property, that security guard will defend that, you see. So he is not challenging the state. Here Baba Ramdev
but I'm a little amused with all this. Why is he getting support across various religions? Even the Muslim Bharat Manch is supporting him.
He's an astute, clever man. Though I like his yogic practices, what I am against is his political yoga. I think he has got all of these people on board, one by incentivizing, other by luring and giving them their 15 minutes of limelight. I am very certain that nobody who is actually a representative of either civil society or a certain community is with him. The ones who are may physically appear like they belong to a certain thing, but they actually are not people who matter much in society.
Mr. Aujla, I remember the day he started his fast.
Yeah.
I thought you supported him on that particular day.
Over the fast.
Do you still support him today?
No, I would say those are very good issues. Bringing in black money and ending corruption and all that. Yes.
Right.
But I would have rather preferred him to mobilize his civics into observing, not paying any money for getting their work done, rather than trying to impose a mechanism on the government, rather than forcing a way out of your own predicament. You are doing something which the government in any case was doing. They were already, the exercise for the committee was already appointed, the exercise is already on. And mind you, bringing in foreign money is not that easy a thing. It requires a diplomatic effort, it requires constitutional enactments. So many things that it cannot happen.
But Anand is very interesting. If people support the cause that he is fighting for, but they object to his, the so-called political agenda.
Incidentally, it is being insinuated that he has a political agenda. He has none. Firstly, he is the nationalist to the core.
Anand, there is a danger. Now, Vishwa Hindu Parishad, they have a military wing called the Bajrang Dal. Now, Bajrang Dal has been indulging in or at least accused of various kinds of violent activities. So, there is a danger that if you form a Sena like this, an armed force like this, they could take law into their own hands.
I have said so, and I repeat and reiterate, this Sena is only what he has talked about, training 20 people from each district of the country, is only meant for self-defense. When he is conducting a yogic shiva, if somebody tries to hurt my wife, my mother, my sister, they could defend themselves. This is only for self-defense.
But you have the country's security forces, you have the police.
You have seen what
that is not the objective.
You can see what security forces have done to the people of the country.
So that means you are trying to take on the security forces.
No,
right?
you are defending yourself.
It is a ridiculous presupposition that you need 10,000, 11,000 people just to protect your shiver. This is
He
ridiculous.
said that he wants to take on the security forces next
Not
time.
take, please, that's
Yes,
what I say.
Mr. Lal, there is always a danger. Now, if you remember in 1994, in parts of Bihar, they formed something called the Ranveer
Ranveer
Sena.
Sena.
Now, this was formed by the landlords against the poor and the downtrodden. And finally, the government had to ban this a year later in 1995.
Rightly so, they were banned, you see. It's not proper to have a Sena, private Sena.
Even Punjab Raksha Dal, Sardar Pratap Singh Karan raised Punjab Raksha Dal. The moment it was discovered that Punjab Raksha Dal could go astray, Punjab Raksha Dal in Punjab was disbanded.
Now, since you have two senior police officers here, where do you draw the line between violence, hinsa and ahimsa?
No line need to be drawn, you see, because hinsa is hinsa and ahimsa is ahimsa. So, it's
Fasting is a hinsa.
No, fasting
But
you see.
calling people to arms is a hinsa.
He has not
I mean,
forbidden
and
something.
it's
If you are
violence,
not allowed to
non-violence.
fast and if you evicted from there, what do you do?
If you are evicted, then you court arrest. That's all.
Yes, court arrest.
You court arrest like
This
Gandhi.
is making it too
Why do you have to run away?
statement, to
Why
say.
do you have to run away in women's clothes?
So disgraceful, you see.
understand.
And he should
That's a separate issue. But Mr. Ojala, we've had instances where even the governments have been using private armies. We've seen that in Punjab. I think something called the Khyar reform.
that was all illegal.
In JNK,
That
you
was
had
illegal.
you had the Ikwanis,
Nobody has said that cats were legal. Cats
It's
were
all-
definitely.
but you allowed them to function.
You see,
In JNK, you had the Ikwanis.
They did work.
In Chhattisgarh, you had something called the Salva Judam. Supreme Court had to intervene in 2008 and said that don't support them; they are illegal. So even the governments have been
So
doing
it's
this.
very difficult to
Even Ramayana
explain.
seven exists
It
even
is
now
very
today.
difficult
That's
to
why I'm asking
explain.
you that where do you draw the line?
Well, you draw the line because they are illegal. The line is
So even if the
absolutely
government is
clear.
doing something illegal, it remains illegal.
Except it stays ab initio illegal.
So employment of cats for liquidating terrorists, it was illegal and remains so. And the Supreme Court,
It will
wherever
continue to
they have
remain
come
so.
it has come
Here
to
in
the
this
Supreme Court,
case,
they have come.
no illegal action is being done. If you are training your people for self, aren't we training our people for judo, taekwondo and other martial arts in our schools and colleges? Are we not? We are training
That
them.
is- that
Are
is-
we NCC and giving
that
them
is
arms?
our-
Anand, once you start training these people against the security forces,
We are
that's the
this is
danger
not-
area.
He has himself said so. This is ahinsatmak. If I have to defend myself, I must have
But
some.
he's not being attacked by other groups.
Who?
Ramdev is not being attacked by other groups.
Let's say Mr. Ojala and myself, if you are there, if third person attacks me, I have a reason to defend myself.
Absolutely.
And if I am trained
And
to
if
defend
the
myself,
security forces is attacking you for whatever reason, you can protest against it if it is an illegal order. But at that point of time, if you protest against it, if you take them on, you are actually that's an illegal act.
Let me explain.
Obstructing
Had I
government
been
service.
trained, if Rajbala was trained to defend herself, she would not have been paralytic now lying for the last so many days. If the people whose skulls have been broken and neurosurgery had to be performed, if they were trained for self-defense, they would not have suffered those grievous injuries. Government had denied all these things also.
Very, very funny.
But Mr. Rashid Khan, now,
I'm surprised,
since you are running out of time, moving ahead, if Ramdev decides to continue with what he is trying to do, should the government stop him in the tracks right away, or should they allow him and wait and watch as to what he does?
Allow me a little space to explain to you that while I am
You'll have to be very brief on
yes, while I'm all right with civil society voicing their opinion, I think the problem comes when you try to ridicule the parliamentary form of democracy that we have. You see, it's all right to say something in a debate, but when you call on the finance minister to say debate with me on national television, what you're doing is asking him to yield the rights that he has as a parliamentarian. Debates happen within parliament. They get televised. If Baba Ramdev ever wants to do all of this, let him come contest elections, come to parliament and do what he wants to do. Sitting in Jantar
Parliament doesn't
No,
hold,
no.
Arshad. Why do political people hold political rallies outside the parliament then? They also do that.
They don't hold rallies to discuss enactment of laws. They talk about the welfare of the government, the
I
society,
think
the
they
people.
discuss
But the
everything
enactment
there.
of the bills don't happen in Jantar Mantar and Ramleela. So that's what I'm trying to say. You can't hold the government to ransom and say, you do
that was
this,
so, why
otherwise
did
I do
they-
that. It's not a
That's what
cause and
Mr.
action
Shazia is
effect.
saying. Why did they discuss it with Anna Hazare and form the
Since we
committee?
have to move forward, Mr. Lal, should Ramdev be allowed to form the so-called Sena and train them?
No, not at all for this purpose. Not for the purpose of taking on the
Incidentally,
police.
this is not a Sena.
But I don't think the law can intervene at this point of time if he's not indulging in any illegal activity of any kind, if they're not indulging in violence, if they're just training people.
That's right. You see, at the point of training, perhaps the law cannot be invoked against
You will
him.
recall in Punjab in the initial days, in the 80s, initial 80s, I think the All India Sikh Student Federation used to hold camps in various gurdwaras.
That's right.
But you see, the
They were not
results,
stopped from doing that.
they should have been stopped somehow. But legally, you see, I think if only training is being given, then he's not committing any unlawful act. I think
So,
so.
Ajla,
Yeah, I
if
believe-
he's only training people and they are not violating the law per se, can you intervene at that point?
Unarmed combat, as the Colonel Anand is saying, unarmed combat.
But there is a section 122
When you're using
IPC,
arms,
just a minute, section 122 IPC says that if arms or men are being collected for spreading disaffection against the government established by law, then that offence is committed under section
So you'll have to
122.
keep a very close watch on what happens in
You
these
see, when I
so-called
said that
camps,
perhaps
right?
they are not committing any violation of law, I was not very sure, because section 122 is very much there, that collection of arms or even men for spreading disaffection against the government established by law, that is punishable under 122.
But he has never said that.
it will have to be examined.
He's
you see.
indulging in.
Yes.
Does that fall into the section that Mr. Lal
At the
spoke
moment, he hasn't done anything which comes into the.
He has only
law.
pronounced
At the moment,
something
he hasn't
by
done
word
it.
of mouth.
He has only declared an intention.
Colonel Anand, since we're running out of time, last word from you. In case he stopped from doing what he wants to do, what is the recourse that you and the other members of, other supporters of Ramdev will do?
Incidentally, firstly, let me show it unmistakably, it's all ahinsatmak. There is no question of any violence involved in this. Yoga teaches, and he's a yoga guru. He's teaching only ahimsa. That's the first thing is ahimsa. He's teaching ahimsa and only teaching his disciples, 11,000 people which he talked about, how to defend themselves with no arms. I'm saying so with all the authority at my command, with no arms whatsoever, not even dandas. It's only question of defending myself. How with my fist, with the hands, with my legs, with my knees, I could defend. That's why I said 64 points exist in our body where we can defend ourselves. If I were to defend myself when I'm being attacked, either by anybody or whosoever, I could save myself in the better manner than what I am now.
I wish it stays that in no.
Well,
Yes, so.
it's good to hear that coming from a retired army officer. Thank you very much for taking part in this discussion. Baba Ramdev's forceful eviction from Delhi has been widely criticized. However, the support for him appears to be waning following his announcements of raising an 11,000 strong Sena for what he describes his self-defense. In democracy, there is place for protest and for satyagraha, but no place for raising of private armies which could clash with the state's security forces. Yet the state also needs to ensure that protests, howsoever inconvenient they may be, are not stifled as it happened in Delhi. With that, we end this edition of Prime. We meet again tomorrow with another issue. Till then, good luck and goodbye.